Can we talk about what the hell is going on with the prices of physical media lately? Because this is insane. I'm sure you guys have noticed, a lot of you guys have messaged me about this and asked me to talk about it, but I don't know if I would call it price gouging or what's happening, but the prices of physical media releases lately have certainly gotten pretty insane. And I think that there are probably three major factors why that is that I'll talk about. And one thing that you're definitely going to have to look out for that could affect physical media in a pretty big way going forward. So for some context on what I'm actually talking about, I think the biggest thing is probably the Deadpool and Wolverine 4K Steelbook release. When that was released, it was released for $69.99, $70. Add tax and shipping onto that. Some people were paying $75 for a 4K steelbook. Now, Marvel, Disney 4K steelbooks always been more expensive, okay? That's just a fact. But more expensive usually meant $40, $45. The price of $70 is insane, and even a couple weeks later now, it's still sitting at $55. The pricing is crazy. I totally agree. And you're not seeing it just on steelbooks. The recent releases of Signs and The Sixth Sense on 4K were retailing for $34.99. That's very high for a 4K release. That's usually like close to MSRP. Most new 4K, especially catalog releases, are somewhere between like $24 to $27. So $35 is quite a bit. And we're seeing this across the industry. You know, you used to be able to get 4K releases on release day. It would be $20 for the Blu-ray, $22.99 for the 4K. Now it's more like $22.99 for the Blu-ray. It's more like $26, $27.99 for the 4K. And a lot of that is coming from the major studios because a lot of the boutique labels, I look at Kino Lorber, who's running a sale right now. A ton of 4K discs are $19.99. It's a good price. Even new stuff that's just recently come out. Criterion does flash sales. Shout Factory does sales. Their stuff is on the more expensive side too, but it's still in that $20 to $30 range. None of them have really cracked into that like $30, $40 range unless you're talking about, you know, like Arrow Videos, limited editions, or things that actually give you more. And a standard 4K release like Signs, which is just a slipcover, $34.99 is asking a lot. So the first reason why this is happening that I can see is probably because of the deal with Sony and Disney. Now, this was a good deal for physical media. It's great that Sony is going to pick up the slack that Disney has, you know, they kind of dropped the ball on physical media. Sony's going to help them keep that up. But I'm sure Sony's getting paid, whether there's a flat fee per year. More than likely, it's some sort of a percentage that they're getting on each release. And so if Sony is getting, say, 25 or 30% for doing the distribution and the manufacturing work for Disney, Disney's not going to just take a 25 or 30% cut. They're Disney. They're a corporation. They're going to up their prices 25 or 30%, which is why maybe, a Disney 4K catalog like The Sixth Sense may have been $27.99. Now it's $34.99. They're passing on that cost to consumers so that they maintain their profits. It sucks, but the alternative is probably we don't get anything. We don't get The Sixth Sense. We don't get Signs. We don't get more Disney Plus shows, which those steelbooks have gotten crazy expensive compared to the first wave of stuff that they did. But that's the alternative is, you know, we either don't get it or we pay the premium for Sony to do it and take their cut, and Disney to, you know, Disney's just not going to take a loss on this stuff or even just make less money. So it sucks, but that's what it is. That's the alternative, is probably nothing. I wish Disney would just do the stuff in-house and put more focus on home video again, but those days are probably long gone. The other thing that's definitely happening, and this goes into sort of price gouging, although I don't know I'd call it that yet, it's getting close, is that they know people will pay. The collector audience right now that is probably buying, 75, 80% of these expensive 4K discs and steelbooks, the hardcore Marvel Disney fans, the hardcore collectors who are going to pay a premium for, different packaging or for the best release of a movie. And this is not just Disney. This is happening in other places as well with other labels and other studios. I think that's just a reality of there's less of us. The demand is lower. The supply is lower to match the demand. And so they're charging more for the supply because they're selling less. It's a double whammy of supply and demand are both low. And so prices go up. They don't want to print a ton of these on initial release and be stuck with them and have to sell them on clearance. So they only print 1,000. They jack the price up. People pay it because we're fans, and what other option do you have sometimes if you want to own the disc physically? And so you're kind of stuck. We're stuck in this bad place where if more people were buying physical media, the prices would go down. That's just a fact. They could sell them at $20 and make good money. But when nobody's buying them, $30 becomes the norm. $35 becomes the norm. And it sucks because, again, it affects the people who are the only ones really still supporting this stuff. It hurts us to continue to support it. So we're punished for wanting this stuff that they're creating, and they're creating it for us and then punishing us with higher prices. And then the third thing, of course, is just the way that the industry has shifted and the economics, basic economics at play, right? Well, inflation, while it may not have hit physical media as quickly as it hit some other areas, groceries, gas, whatever, it doesn't hit everything at the same time. There's material cost, and they may have had materials in stock. They may have bought a bunch of materials, steelbooks, that material, whatever that's made out of, the pricing is going to go up on that. Like, there's things at play here, which I don't know all the economics of, but it wouldn't surprise me if some of that stuff is lagging behind other stuff, which is much higher in demand, like a gas or groceries. Like, those things got hit with inflation hard. Now those things are starting to come back down. Physical media may have been lagging behind. There may have been a bunch of stock of plastic cases and steelbooks, but now maybe there isn't, and they're getting hit hard with some increased prices that they're not used to, that weren't present over the last couple of years. So I have an inkling that's the case. I can't prove that without, going to some manufacturer and asking them what their cost is for a steelbook case and what they sell. They're never going to give me that information. I'm just a guy. But I have a feeling that could be it. It could be a bit of a delayed effect, combined with the lack of demand, the shorter supply. If they're buying less supply, they're also going to get charged more. They're not buying in, as large numbers anymore, where they used to maybe do, I don't know how many, 50,000 steelbooks for a movie like Guardians of the Galaxy, and it would be sold at Best Buy and everywhere. Maybe now they're doing 5,000. You're going to get differences in pricing there on material costs too. There's like economic factors at play. And the other thing when it comes to economics is you got to pay close attention. If you're worried about the cost of physical media, pay close attention to what happens now with tariffs, especially when it comes to Mexico. I don't know if a lot of people know this, but I think the number, off the top of my head, I'm spitballing, but I want to say the number is like 90% of physical media right now, the discs are manufactured in Mexico. That's where the replication plants are. That's where they're doing a lot of it. I think there's one still in the United States that some people use, but almost all of it has gone to Mexico. And already there's been threats from the current, the new incoming administration, the Trump administration, that they are potentially planning to put a 25% tariff in on imported goods from Mexico. So while that's going to affect a whole bunch of stuff, what that means is that the discs are now 25% more expensive to make because they're importing them, and they don't have the facilities in the US to do this. Nobody's set up to mass manufacture discs. It's all being done in Mexico. Check your recent discs. If you look on the back, sometimes it's on the shrink wrap, sometimes it's on the plastic wrap. It'll say disc made in Mexico. Now, what's the cost of that going to be? I don't know. If it adds a couple of dollars, though, that's going to be passed on to you. Like Sony, Disney, Warner Brothers, Lionsgate, Shout, Arrow, no matter who's making these discs, if it costs them $2 to make the disc before, and you add 25% onto that, and now it costs them, what's 25% of $2? 50 cents. Now it costs them $2.50. Well, that means you've cut in 50 cents on every bit of profit. Well, guess what? They're going to pass that on to us. So it's not going to be a huge impact. And I don't know the numbers. I don't know how much it costs to make a disc. Maybe it's $5. And if that's the case, then you're looking at, a couple dollars more. But don't be surprised if that goes into place, that your $25 Blu-ray becomes a $27 and your $29 4K becomes $32. It's just going to happen because they're not going to eat the costs. Again, they're corporations. They're not making a bunch of profit on physical media already. If there's a 25% tariff on top of their manufacturing costs, they're going to pass that 25% on to the consumer and possibly even tack on a little bit more and blame the increased costs. So that would be another impact, specifically if something happens with Mexico in their imports, because that is where most of physical media is made right now, at least on the discs. I'm not sure about cases, steelbooks, things like that. I don't think that's done in Mexico, but the discs definitely are, and that whole process is done there. Only thing you can really do right now, wait for sales, wait it out, don't buy them at the $70, $60, $50 price points, $35. Don't buy them at that price point. They'll come down. If you continue to buy them at $35, then all that signals to a corporation is, oh, okay, so they bought them at 25, they bought them at 30, they bought them at 35. I bet they'll still buy them at 40. I bet they'll still buy them at 50. This could easily happen. It's happened before. Go back to the 80s and the 90s, like laser discs when they first came out were like $50 or $60, which in 1980, $1990 is insane. That's like an $80 or $90 purchase now, $100 purchase. So it's happened before where demand and supply have been kind of off and people weren't big into it. And then VHS got cheap because a lot of people started buying VHS, and DVDs got cheap once people started buying DVDs. So if we go back, we're kind of shifting back to that world of the $50 laser disc because it's become such a niche thing. And I think that's just the reality of what physical media is, and it sucks, but hopefully at least this gives you some explanation. Not that it helps your wallet any, not that it helps you make you feel any better. I just think this is the unfortunate reality of how things are shifting. So that's it for me today. Sorry I don't have better news, but that's my analysis of it. That's what I think's going on. Maybe things will change. If people don't buy the stuff at $35, maybe they come back down and they say, all right, we did too much. These have to be $29.99. These steelbooks can't be $50. We didn't sell any. They need to be $35. We'll see. I mean, you have to speak with your wallet. If you continue to buy things at a high price, no business is going to say, oh, wow, 50,000 people bought this at $50. Let's make it $40. They know they've got you at 50, so they'll go to 55. Like, that's just the way it is. So vote with your wallet. It's totally up to us and the community as to, how these prices are going to go. Some of it's out of our hands, but if you continue to support it, that's the way things are going to head. So thank you all. Hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, let me know. I'm an open book. Comment, send me a DM on Instagram, whatever. Happy to chat about this, give you some more info. If you have any specific questions, let's talk about it. Thank you for watching. Have a great rest of your day. Stay safe, stay healthy out there, and I'll talk to y'all soon.